let's wrap this shit up. But first, that's too fucking much. So, we're gonna wrap this shit up and we're back with the final part. So why am I posting this? Why am I talking about my private life on social media, on TikTok, for all to see, including people that I know, people that I work with? God. If I tell you how many DMs I've received from women that are still in a situation like this and they're asking me what were the signs. So I would have, like, anyone who knows me knows I'm pretty confident and, you know, I chat shit, right? So you would think someone like me is above being taken advantage of or being manipulated, because at the time I didn't see any red flags. There were not any red flags. I just took him as he is and I believed everything he said word for word. And what makes it worse is I don't know if he knows what he's doing or he's just really, really smart and he knows how to be manipulative and how to make people do, like, just doubt themselves. So I was now doubting myself because I'm thinking, you know, I'm pretty picky in relationships and stuff like that. And, you know, I've had good relationships. I've had relationships that I've been dumped and I've dumped as well. So I've been hurt, I've hurt, you know, but I've always kind of been strict on the kind of person that I want in my life. But when I started seeing him, he was not even my type in a sense. But I thought, you know what, Charlotte, this is why you're fucking single, mate. Because you're not giving anyone a chance. But this is why it's important for you to stick to your type. Even if it's like, oh my God, unrealistic, and people are saying, oh, you're never going to find a man that way, or you're never going to find a woman that way. If you settle for something that you don't like, you'll end up hurting somebody else, or they'll end up hurting you, whichever comes first. So the reason why I'm posting is because it's to hold myself accountable as well for, you know, not going with what I already know, with things that I've already said I'm not going to do, right? So I'm here to take myself accountable as well, and to look back at this video every time I feel like losing my mind, yeah? And when I feel like losing my mind again, I'll come back here, remind myself. So anyway, I know there's questions because, you know, I'm drinking, right? So what happened? So basically what happened was we, you know, I'm in this toxic situation and I'm in two bits. Like, I don't know if he's doing it on purpose or if that's who he is. And if that's who he is, do I have to accept this behavior? I even approached his sister and I spoke to his sister. The sister seems to be aware that this is how he behaves. She even says, like, he doesn't even talk to them as well. And I'm thinking, okay. So she said, don't worry, I'll talk to him. And then she comes back to me and she goes like, you know, that's just who he is. You know, that's just who he is. And I said, I get that, but why do I need to sacrifice my happiness to accept who he is when he fails to accept who I am? He knows I want, you know, I'm a romantic girly. I want to, you know, I want romance. And I'm not asking him to drop a bag. I'm not asking him to spend thousands and thousands of pounds. I'm just saying something romantic that we can all do. We can both plan and we can both split the bill, for fuck's sake. Like, do you know what I mean? But no. And, you know, she's like, that's just who he is, because that's who they used to as well. So then it made me think further, like, is that who he is for real? Fuck me, do you know what I mean? But it turns out, I don't know, up to this day, up to right now, I don't know if he's just fucking clever and he's just winding me up, or he generally has no idea that he's doing these behaviors. Anyway, so now I've now moved and stuff, right? And well, we've moved, but, you know, I moved, if that makes sense. He moved in with me. You know, I went through a tragic phase. I had a loss and things like that. And I was like, I had no support from him. And then I found out that I was pregnant. I found this out in February. that I was pregnant. And you would think that this is the second time round we've had a second chance, you know, but it was terrible. We were living like strangers in this property. We're living like strangers. Like I would say hi, you know, you okay, how's work? He'd be like, yeah, fine. Then he'll go and lie down. And then, like I said before, when his mood changes, he's a different person. He is unapproachable. Like his face is straight, and he doesn't like, not even Kaylee, like he'll pass Kaylee like that, with no emotion, just like emotionless. And he'll go lie down, and I'll say to him, are you okay? He'll be like, yeah, I'm fine. Are you okay? Yeah, I'm fine. I'll be like, you know, how's your family? Are they okay? Are they stressing you out? He'll be like, my family can never stress me out. And then I'm like, okay, you know, what is it? So it went to a point where I was the one carrying the romantic side of our family, of our relationship. I was the one carrying the relationship on my shoulders and in my fucking hands, right? So I'm the one who's holding this relationship together in terms of love. He's on his phone, guys. He's addicted to his phone. He's laughing, watching, like I'm busy cleaning while just sat there rubbing his feet, you know, like Batman. And he's watching football or whatever. And I'm pregnant, by the way. And we had just moved as well. And I'm grieving as well and all that shit, right? And my back is killing me. You know, that's one of the biggest things that I had with both, you know, the previous loss and this one, was that my back was fucking killing me. But he would just, you know, it was stressful. And then we were just arguing, and we were not even arguing, guys. I was just always arguing with him. So it seemed like I'm always nagging him. Going back to the last video, if you didn't know us, if you have not chilled with us, you would think I'm the problem. You would think that I'm the one who's always starting shit. And I would always ask him, if you got something that you don't like about me, or if I'm doing something that you're not happy with, just let me know. Just fucking communicate, right? But no, he would say there's nothing I've got to say about you, because I was meeting his needs, but he wasn't meeting mine. Anyway, so I found out I'm pregnant now, and I'm stressed from the beginning. I'm stressed from the beginning. And Bayman was still in the same house. And then my sister invites us to go to her house for dinner. She had just moved with her partner, and her partner is my ex's friend. So he said he's going to the gym, and then I said, okay, cool. You know, Bayman, I'm still enduring, I'm still tolerating. So before this invitation was on a Saturday, we had a private scan on the Wednesday. So I would have been 7 weeks pregnant. So we went for a reassuring scan. Right, we go there, and something's off. It's like I can feel it, something is off. And then the guy does the scan, and he goes like, how has been your pregnancy? And I said, oh, it's been all right, you know, just a few back pain here and there. And he goes like, okay. And he goes quiet. I'm like, shit, that's what I knew. Like, there's no way, because I obviously had another scan with my first pregnancy, the one that I just lost before last year, and I could see the flutter on because I had it at 7 weeks as well. I could see the heartbeat and everything, but I couldn't see it on this screen, and I just knew. And then he goes like, he's going to do a vaginal one where he scans from the inside. And then he did it again. There was just nothing, silence, radio silence. And you know, he said there's no heartbeat. And I was like, okay. And then he goes like, obviously before we go any further, he would refer me to the hospital and stuff. So this is on a Wednesday, guys, right? And I am like, I'm crying. I'm going through this for the second time. Are you mad? Like, do you know what I mean? And then I'm just like, oh my God, you know, things like that. And then I rip the paperwork and stuff. And I still, bear in mind, I still have to deal with life. I have to deal with a loss that just happened in my life, and I just had to deal. With a lot of shit. And it's not like he's supportive. His words of support is like, oh, everything will be okay. Everything will be okay. And I'm thinking, fuck off. We go back home after the scan, and he comforts me that day. Fair enough. You know, we lie down in bed, he's hugging me. Don't worry, everything will be okay. I've been doing research, and sometimes the baby has a late heartbeat. But I knew in my heart. And at this point, I am feeling weird. I'm feeling so weird, because I'm not as sad as I was the first time. The first time I literally had a mini breakdown, but this time I was like calm. obviously I'm a human being. I'm hoping there's a heartbeat when we go to our scan on at the hospital scan on Monday. At the same time, I was like, would it be so bad if I didn't? And I know this might sound very insensitive to, you know, a lot of women that have lost babies and stuff, but you know, this is my experience. There's only all I can speak of is my experience. And I was like, okay, all right. So we wait. So it's now Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Masa invites us because, you know, I've been going through a lot and I've just been, you know, like dealing with a lot of things in the background. And I wanted to just clear my head. So Masa invites us as a couple and my daughter out to this dinner at her house. So now Monday, also the dinner now happens, and he said he's going to the gym, and then I said to him, okay, I might go to my sister's house a bit early, but then I said, you know what, I'm gonna wait for him to come back from the gym, and then we can go together as a family. But I didn't hear from him, and next thing I know, he's already at my sister's house. Because they went to the gym and he met up with my sister's partner and they went back to her house. And I'm thinking, what the fuck, right? So I'm like, what the fuck? You know, he's like, oh, because I was told you were already coming here, so I decided to come here anyway. And I said, but did you not text me as your partner and say, oh, you know, Charlotte, are you still, you know, what time are you coming? Let's come together and things like that. He's like, you know, whatever. It's like every single time I have something to say to him, he bites, and he will switch things around and say, why didn't you text me? And I'm like, but you were at the gym. I was waiting for you. So I was waiting for your communication. And as soon as I was told that you were there, I contacted you, you know? And he will never take accountability. So anyway, that's fine, whatever. So me, I'm already stressed. There's no heartbeat and I'm going through a lot of emotional crisis. I have not told my sister this yet. She thinks everything's okay. We're chilling, you know, and I'm really craving alcohol at this point. And I couldn't drink because my sister would start asking me questions and I was not about that life of answering questions. So I was drinking a non-alcoholic wine and it was fucking shit. I don't know how the fuck you'll do it. I don't know how the fuck you'll do it. Anyway, so then me, my sister, my daughter, and my sister's partner are all happy. We're all happy. We're all listening to music. We're all laughing. He is just in the living room like a dark cloud, just clouding our happiness. Whew. I try to go talk to him. It's just, yeah, one word answers, yeah. And I'm like, is everything okay? He's like, yeah. I tried to make conversation with him, like, oh, you know, they've got a nice house, isn't it? This TV is massive, isn't it? And then he'll just ignore me. And I said, cool. So I left the living room and then I went into the kitchen where my sister was cooking. And then my sister's partner was like, you know, is he okay? And I said, you know what? I'm sick of tired of like defending and say, yeah, everything's okay. And I said, I don't know. I don't know if it's okay or not. I don't know. Can you go ask him? And then he's like, okay. And then he went, then he came back. Then he goes like, he's not even saying anything to me as well. So me, because I'm so used to living in that environment, I could have moved on. We were watching a film. I would have moved on with my life in that house because I was so used to living like that. But obviously my sister and her partner were not used to it. The atmosphere was weird. He was, you know, like a dark cloud on our happiness, like I said earlier. So it was just so difficult to even enjoy and laugh. All he did was just lie down on the sofa. Like, we're at people's houses. Like, I know we're friends and sisters and whatnot, but you know, this is the first time you haven't even said to your friend, I'm so happy for you, oh my God, look at your house or anything like that. But no, he's just lying down on his phone watching football. He's not engaging with us or anything like that. But I'm used to it. So to me, it's normal. It doesn't matter. And then we're getting ready to watch a film, and then I'm like I said, I'm used to it. So I got ready. It wasn't awkward for me because I'm used to it. It's something that I was living with at home anyway. So my sister and her partner went upstairs to, you know, get comfortable so they can come down and watch this film. And then when they came down, they said, oh, can we talk? And I'm like, talk about what? And then they were like, you know, we noticed you guys acting weird around each other. Is everything okay? And then I said, I am okay. I don't know what's wrong with Charles. I don't know if anything's wrong with him. And then he starts at me, not even accusing me. He says things. I think he's got like I think he remembers things weirdly. He remembers things differently. Like, I have to show him a message to remind him of what he said, because he will say, I didn't say that. And then I'll show him a message. Then he'll be like, oh, what I meant was. And I'm thinking, but you denied it at first. And now you're trying to explain what you meant was when we had a whole argument about it. So what this guy did, he would trigger me. until I'm loud, until I'm shouting, and then he'll be like, calm down, I don't know why you're yelling. And I'm thinking, oh my God, and anyone who knows me, I never, ever in front of my daughter would argue with a man like this. No, ever, never. Do you know what I mean? The only arguments my daughter has seen is between me and my sisters or whatever, but she has not seen me and a man going back and forth. So I lose myself. When I say I lose myself, I mean I lose myself. So now I'm yelling, I'm screaming because he can't hear me. And I'm thinking, is he doing it on purpose? Is he winding me up on purpose? Like, I will say A and he will say B. I will say B and he will say C. You know, like there was just no meeting halfway with him. And I said, right now we're in people's houses and you're moving mad. Your attitude is bad. And then he'll be like, who told you my attitude is bad? And then I said to my sister's partner, you be honest with your friend. Yeah, you be honest with your friend. And he told his friend, he said, your attitude has been bad. Your attitude has been, to be honest with you, the atmosphere, your attitude has been terrible. And then instead of acknowledging that and saying, oh, I didn't realize, he goes back to me. He goes like, but I was trying to talk to her. And I said, when were you trying to talk to me? I was trying to talk to you. And then I sound stupid because I'm now describing everything. I'm now saying I walked in here and I shimmied on the sofa and I leaned back and I held my glass. Like, I'm having to describe things that just happened not long ago to him. He makes me seem like I'm crazy, like I've got, like I'm not remembering things correctly. Like, what the fuck? If there's no witnesses, like everyone will think I'm crazy. And then it will be back to me. And then at this point, I make a decision right there and there. I make a decision in my head. And I said, I don't want this relationship anymore. And I burst. I tell him to fuck off. Fuck you. I don't give a fuck, you dumb motherfucker. Suck your dick. Fuck you. Your mama, your whole family. Fuck y'all. Because I knew if I say that, there's no going back. There's no going back when you say shit like that. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, I said it. I said, fuck off. I'm done with you. Fuck you, motherfucker. And he said to me, I am done too. I don't give a fuck too. And I think you know it. I said, I do? Spill the tea, motherfucker. You know? But that was it. And then, you know, we didn't even reach a conclusion, because we can never reach a conclusion, because he can never acknowledge, he can never say, my bad. Even if 50 people are telling him, it will be like, you're all haters, like you're all saying the wrong thing. So I just gave up and I said, I'm done. And he was, you know, having a go at his friend, like, oh, you guys teamed up on me. Even if, like, I said to him, how much power do you think I have to turn everyone against you? How much power are you giving me with the way that I'm weak right now to get myself into this situation? Exactly how much power do you think I have? Anyway, so now I'm like, I need you out of my house. I need you out of my property. I need you out. And then he's like, well, I don't know. It's just too short notice. I don't have anywhere to go. And I'm like, okay, cool. So take it back to that fucking bed you see behind me. So he bought this bed at the beginning of March when we moved, or whenever we moved. And I said to him, I can't afford this bed to pay for it in one go. If I'm going to buy a bed, I'll buy it myself with my budget. And it's not going to be the bed that you would like. It won't be up to your standards. And then he was like, no, your back is always hurting anyway. You know, let me get the bed. So this is before I found out there was no heartbeat. So I'm still pregnant at this point. And then he purchased the bed for 700 and something pounds. And I say to him, okay, cool, I'll purchase the wardrobe. So I purchased the wardrobe that you see over there. Ignore the clothes. So I purchased the wardrobe, right? It was like 500 and something pounds. And I purchased it. I've always wanted that wardrobe, to be honest. And then I purchased it, right? And then it was all fair, or whatever. It was split on the fridge and the washing machine, right? And then I buy everything else in the house. This dresser that I'm set on right now was a decision I made after I told that nigga to fuck off. I put everything else in the house, everything that I have in here, I purchased myself. And then, so obviously when I now told him to go and stuff, he's like, well, we need to balance the money. And I said, balance the what, sorry? And then I said to him, listen, ask for your money back for the bed. I'll even message them for you to come and get the bed, because there was a 2-week, instead of 30 days I got 2 weeks, right? And I said, your time is running up. He's like, no, I'll take the bed with me, or I'll leave it with you, I'll let you know. And I said, you need to tell me exactly when you're going so I can purchase my own bed, because I don't want to be without a bed when you've taken your bed. And then he's like, well, we'll see. And I'm like, cool. And he goes like, what about the washing machine and the fridge? And I'm thinking, first of all, the half you paid wasn't even like the amount. I just felt bad to add more because you had bought the bed, but they were actually quite more expensive than what you paid for. But anyway, it's fine, don't worry about it. Just don't pay the rent. If that's the case, don't pay half the rent. Bear in mind, this man only at my old place, he only moved in, right, and he only paid 1 month's worth of rent. All the other times that he was in my house every day, he didn't pay no rent, gas, electricity. He didn't contribute to any of that. He will buy food in the house for me to cook for everyone, right? He would buy things that benefit everyone, not for me. Not like, oh, Charlotte, here's 100 quid for you, love. No, the money that he was giving me was benefiting all of us. But every single time he would complain, I spent money, I dropped money. I'm thinking, where? I even went to our joint account and I said to him, can you point to me which money here that you gave for me? Like, and I said, oh, this £10, yeah, was that for the meat I cooked for you? What about this? Yeah, for when we did this. What about this? For the fuel I put when I was driving you around? And I'm thinking, this is exactly why I lowered my standards. Not because he's a bad person before you start, but because these are the things that I personally wanted. I'm sure he had his own list of things, even if it's I want a woman that drives. That's fine for him. And those are his requests. These were my requests, and I went above for them because I thought, you know what, let me just give it a go. But whatever, right, here we are. And then I said to him, don't worry about the rent, that should cover the whatever you feel like I owe you, right? He's like, okay. He keeps talking about the bed and money. I said, I'm not giving you the money, to be honest with you, because I've paid for so many things as well. All the other things that we've done romantically, I paid for him. I got him gifts for Valentine's. And I said, it's even pathetic that I'm having to list down things that I've also done for you, right? And things like that. And then eventually he was like, okay, we'll leave the bed or whatever. So then he's been staying here with me up until a couple of days ago. So while he was here, again, we lived like strangers. Since that dinner with my sister, we lived like strangers for 2 weeks. So after the dinner, I had a scan on Monday and he was going to work. So he didn't take time off or anything. I went on my own. And then my heart was split. And this is the honest truth. I don't think I wanted there to be a heartbeat, but I was also prepared if there was a heartbeat. So I was stressed out in the waiting room, like, fuck me, what is gonna happen? So I go in and they do a scan, and I already know from the get-go, as soon as she put it in, the reaction, the way she was talking, because she would have said something like, oh, you know, there's a heartbeat, but she didn't. And then a senior nurse came in and said there's still no heartbeat and the baby hasn't grown from the last scan. And I said, okay. Hopped off the bed, wiped my pum-pum, because they did a vaginal one. And I said, okay. And they put me in a little room. And I waited for a nurse to come and talk to me. And I cried. I bawled my eyes out. And I feel like I cried. I was mourning the baby. And I was mourning the relationship, because I knew it was done. Because the one thing that was going to tie me to this man was going to be this baby. And I'm not that kind of person that would stop you seeing your child because we didn't get along or whatever. So I was crying because it meant the end as well. And I looked at it as a sign. And I know it sounds bad when it's put this way, but I felt like I was being given a warning. I was given the first warning the first time. And I was like, ooh, the flag is not that red. Let me see how red it can get. And then I went back again, and this was the final. If I had been stupid enough now to continue this relationship, there's nobody I can blame for whatever trauma I go through next. So I was relieved. I cried my heart out. When the nurse came in, she was asking me, is there somebody? I said, no, I'm okay. And she was just like, are you sure? And I said, I'm fine. And she was giving me all the options, and I already knew which one I wanted, because number one, I had done it the first time when I had my loss the first time. Number two, I had already done my research, so I already knew which one I was going to go for, which was to take the pill, and then 48 hours later I take another pill. So I finished. I walked home because I lived down the road from the hospital, and I went home. And I sat there and I was like, oh, bear in mind, I'm also dealing with a loss that's just happened in my life, and not the baby, in the family. And I'm like, okay, this is it. I message him. I let him know what they said. He's like, okay, sorry. He comes home. We are like strangers. He sits next to me and he's like, are you sure that's what they said? And I said, yeah, you could have come with me, you know. I gave him the leaflet that they gave me and everything. And now he was depressed, obviously, about the whole situation. But my feelings didn't matter. And then he isolated himself while I dealt with it on my own. So like I said in my previous videos, once I deal with something on my own, once I lick my own wounds, it's done. So there it was. And we just stayed like that for a while. And then all of a sudden, I would say about a week, not even a week, maybe about a week, 7 days, he just started begging from nowhere. After 2 weeks of acting like a stranger to me, he just starts begging. 24/7. When he was in the house, he was begging, can I talk to you? And I remember we were still moving, remember? So the house is, you know, crowded, there's things and stuff. And I tidied the bedroom because there was like all this shit in here. So I moved everything, I sorted everything to the way it is now. And then sleeping on the sofa, and he's happily sleeping on the bed. And I said, why am I having to suffer by sleeping on the bed? He did offer for me previously to sleep on the bed, but this is when he was wanting money for the bed, so I didn't feel comfortable sleeping on the bed that he's saying that he bought for me. So now I am like, okay, so I felt at this point like I've earned the bed at this point. So I'm sleeping in there. I would wake up to him staring at me. I was scared. I would text my sister like, I feel like he's gonna kill me. I feel like he's got nothing to lose now. He's gonna kill me. I don't know. It was a weird feeling, and considering he's never displayed any sort of violent behaviors, I was very worried why I'm feeling this way. And I would sleep with things under my bed. I would sleep with like weapons just in case. But like I said, he never displayed any violent behaviors. But I just thought he had nothing to lose now. And my heart was terrified. And then after a while, I strengthened myself and I said, no, Charlotte, you can fucking fight this guy, right? You know, you can do some damage. And I said, I'll go down fucking fighting. So I made sure my daughter was safe, right? And then I would wake up him staring at me, holding my hand, rubbing my face. And he would beg me, and I would sit with him and I would say to him, it's just not working. We're just not the right match. You're not the right person for me. I'm not the right person for you. Look at the way that I've spoken to you. Look at the way that I speak to you. I was calling him a dickhead and all sorts during those 2 weeks. I was calling him slow and shit, you know? Why would you want to be with a woman who demeans you like that? I even said to him, thank fuck I didn't have the baby, and thank fuck it wouldn't have been a boy, because the boy would have been dumb as fuck like you. You know, why would you stay? Obviously, those things were said out of anger, but that's the harsh reality. It's true. People do say these things, just don't want to admit them, but I said them because I wanted him to leave me alone. I had no peace. There was a point where I was holding my head like this because he just kept begging. And I'll say to him, I'm trying to sleep. And he would say, I know, but please, I'm sorry. He would be waking me up. He'd be waking me up. He would sleep and get his hours of sleep. And then once he's awake, it's demon time. He is harassing me. He is like, please. He is begging me. He is like, to a point where I was like this. I was crying, to a point where I locked myself in the bathroom till he left for work. So I locked myself in the bathroom, and then he was banging on the door. He wasn't banging, so he was knocking on the door, like, let me in, are you okay? I said, I'm fine. And then when I saw that lock, when he came out and locked the door, oh my God, the relief. And I was shaking. And then I would open the door and look through the peephole to make sure he's gone. And then I'll see him walk off. And then I'll see him go in the lift. And then I'll go outside and I'll look outside my window. And then I'll double check that he's gone. That was the only time I would then sleep. This happened for a while. It happened for a while. Then he started doing things, started buying food. So at this point, obviously, I had given him till the end of the month for him to move out. You know, I don't even know. I was just nice. I didn't want him to be out cold. I didn't want him to struggle. You know, I just didn't want that for him. And he started buying things, started buying food for me and Kaylee, just started doing all these things. And then out of nowhere, he buys me a massive bouquet of flowers. And I was thinking to myself, once upon a time, I would have jumped at this. I would have said, oh my God, babe, thank you. But I didn't. And I told him, you wasted your money. It's like, I know. And on his card, he wrote, I'm sorry that I didn't love you the way that you wanted to be loved. But I promise from now on, I'll love you the way you want to be loved. And I'm saying, what do you mean from now on? We've broken up. I don't want you anymore. He's not listening. And at this point, I'm frustrated. Every single time we cross paths, he wants to talk. He wants to talk. He wants to talk. And then I said to him, when you move out, let's see how it goes. And I had to say this for him to leave me alone. I had to say this for him to leave me alone. And now you're wondering, Charlotte, why the fuck didn't you just kick him out? Because I knew he had nowhere to go. And I didn't want that on my conscience, that he's out struggling because of me. We had made a plan of our future. We had made a plan of our living arrangements. And I'm the one, I felt like I broke that arrangement. Obviously, I know that my hand was forced and stuff like that. So, you know, I was dealing with a lot. My car is fucked because I got hit twice. Like, in the space of, we're only in April, and I got hit twice by Stagecoach and by a taxi driver. I've just lost a second pregnancy. I went to work during my miscarriage. I took my second tablet during work. And I was going through a miscarriage while I was at work. And to me, I was punishing myself because I felt like I needed to do this for allowing this man to come into my life for the second time. I had a chance the first time and I didn't. So that was my form of punishing myself. So I did. I went through it while I was at work. And then, yeah, you know, what can I say? It's fucked up. So after I told him that he needs to go, he said he found somewhere on the 30th, but it just seemed so far away. The 30th is like 7 days away from today, but it felt so far away. So finally he left on Monday. And bear in mind, he's thinking we're gonna make it work. So he's trying, he's touching me, and with every touch I'm like, oh my god. With every hug I'm like, oh my god, Charlotte, just be strong, just be strong. I had to lie that I'm on my period. You know, I just had to do what I had to do. I had to just survive. Sounds extreme, but that's exactly how I felt. And then he said he's waiting for his taxi, and then he goes like, unless you want to drop me. And I said, no, I'm tired. And then he's like, oh, okay. And then he leaves and he goes like, I've left the keys. And when he said that, I was like, oh my god. Like, because then I can't, like, every single time he would turn that key, my heart would drop, my happiness would fade. So what I did was I waited, and then he left. And then I was in bed when he left, and he gave me a hug, and that hug was, it's like I feel like I was hugging a barbed wire. That's how I felt. And then he left, and I double checked that the door is locked. I double checked he left the key. And then I was looking around the room, and all his stuff is gone except a few things like shoes and stuff. And I was like, oh my god, it's done. And I took this as a chance to reach my goals, to do what I want to do, to complete what I want to complete. It's not as traumatic as other people's experiences, but to me, it was a big deal. So that's the end of this saga. So I'm free now. Like, I'm even doing my makeup for work and everything. Like, I've got a little routine, you know, going on. And, you know, sometimes I still think, like, am I an evil person for then telling him to leave over what he said was an overreaction? How can you break up with me over not me being romantic? What about all the memories we built? But I'm thinking, the memories were tainted. I was holding us up. You know, we had good times. We did, you know. But those good times were because I would turn a blind eye. And those good times were because I would push for us to do something. And at the back of my mind, I'm thinking, does he know he behaves like this? Or he doesn't? And if he doesn't, am I a bad person because I failed to understand him? So those are the questions that stress me out. But here we are. I am free. Yeah. With that being said, I can't wait to do different content now. That chapter of my life is closed. And I can't wait to do more. I have done so well for myself right now. I can't wait to do a flat tour of the things I've purchased. But remember that fucking bed. Remember that bed. I didn't get that bed. But I earned it. That's for fucking sure. So yeah, deuces.